Hello and welcome once again to the Story Shed. Hope that you're all well and taking good care and, of course, are ready for a story. The story that I have for you today is from the Children's Bedtime Treasury. So sit back, relax and hopefully enjoy the tale of Ursula's Umbrella. Ursula was a little girl who longed for adventure. She loved reading stories about faraway places and explorers and even children like herself who had amazing adventures. Why doesn't anything interesting ever happen to me, she sighed. How I wish I could fly to the moon or dive to the deepest part of the ocean. What fun it would be. Now, one windy day, Ursula went out for a walk. She took her umbrella because it looked as though it might be going to rain. Ursula's umbrella was red with a shiny black handle. It was also very large indeed, and people used to laugh as Ursula walked along the street with her umbrella up. It looked so big, and Ursula was so small that it seemed as though the umbrella was walking along all by itself. As Ursula walked up the street, she felt a few raindrops on her nose. Better put up my umbrella, she thought. She unfurled her umbrella and lifted it high above her head, and as she did so, a great gust of wind came and swept her right off the pavement. It carried her past the upstairs windows of the houses, past the roofs and the chimney pots, and up into the sky. Ursula clung tightly to the umbrella handle. She was surprised that she wasn't the least bit frightened. No, not a bit. She felt very excited. She looked down and saw streets and factories whizzing fast down below, and then she saw fields and something that looked like a silver thread snaking through the countryside. Ah, a river, thought Ursula. Now she could see the coastline, and soon the umbrella was carrying her out over the ocean. And at first, when she looked down, the sea was grey, but gradually it turned to the deepest blue with frothy white waves. How I'd love a swim, thought Ursula, and at that moment she felt the umbrella starting to descend. Looking down, she could see that they were heading for an island in the middle of the ocean. Soon she was floating past the tops of palm trees, and as she touched the ground, she felt sand under her feet. I am going for a swim, said Ursula to herself. She folded up her umbrella and set off to the beach. The water felt deliciously warm as Ursula paddled about. She looked down and saw that the water was amazingly clear. She could see brightly coloured fish darting in and out of the coral. Wow! Exclaimed Ursula out loud, and then wow! Again, but this time much louder, as she looked up and saw a black fin swimming through the water towards her. Shark! She shrieked, but no one heard. Then, all of a sudden, a gust of wind made her umbrella unfurl itself and float towards her in the water like a boat. Ursula made a dash for the umbrella, hurled herself into it, and floated away across the sea. That was quite an adventure, she thought. After a while, Ursula looked out over the rim of the umbrella and saw that it was heading for the shore again. This time, when Ursula stepped out of the umbrella, she found that she was at the edge of a jungle. Folding up the umbrella, she set off into the forest and followed an overgrown path through the trees. I wonder where this leads, thought Ursula. She wiped her brow and swatted the insects that flew in front of her face. Deeper and deeper into the jungle she went. Suddenly, she heard the sound of rushing water and found herself standing on the banks of a river. All at once, she heard another sound. It was the crashing noise of some enormous beast approaching through the trees. Where could she run to? Suddenly, she felt the umbrella being blown from her hand. To her amazement, it fell to the ground, stretching right across the river like a bridge. Ursula walked over to the other side, not daring to look at the torrent below, and when she was safely on the far bank, she looked back to see a large puma with glittering green eyes glaring at her from the opposite bank. That was a lucky escape, thought Ursula. Ursula could see a mountain through the trees and decided to head towards it. I'll be able to get a good view from the top, and maybe I'll find my way home, she thought. She struggled on through the forest and eventually found herself at the foot of the mountain. There seemed to be no way up the sheer rock face. Ursula was on the point of despair when suddenly another great gust of wind blew up. It carried Ursula, clinging to her opened umbrella, all the way up to the top of the mountain. At the top of the mountain, the umbrella let her gently down and her feet landed in deep snow. By now it was blowing a blizzard and she could not see anything except white snowflakes in all directions. There's only one thing to do, thought Ursula. She put the umbrella on the snow, sat on it, and whizzed all the way down the other side of the mountain. When she reached the bottom, to her surprise, the umbrella sledge didn't stop, but carried on through the snowstorm until eventually, after a very long time, it came to a halt right outside her own front door. Well, that was quite an adventure, said Ursula, shaking the snow off the umbrella before folding it up. She stepped inside the front door. Wherever have you been? Said her mother. You look as though you've been to the ends of the earth and back. Well, I have, Ursula was about to say. But then she thought that no one would believe her, and it was nicer to keep her adventures to herself. And that is what she did. And that's the end of the tale of Ursula's umbrella. If you have any stories that you'd like to share with us, then you could send them to thestoryshedblog@gmail.com. That's thestoryshedblog@gmail.com. Or if there are any other stories that you'd like to hear, then let us know. Just drop us a line. And for the time being, take care, be well, and bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.